Hi, it's Grandma from Grandma's Footsteps again, and now we're going to get into part 2 of the cottage by the sea. A little bit more detail going in and some foliage and such like. And here you can see we're putting some lights in the windows. We later add some more colour to the windows to make it a bit more interesting. And now we're starting to put in some foliage and some trees. I put a very light layer of the greens in as the bits that would be behind the branches, because trees are three-dimensional, and obviously some of the greenery comes out as behind the branches. And don't forget, when you're laying down bits for the trees, let a little bit of the sky peep through. Makes it look more realistic. So we're just adding a few bits of the green in here for the tree. A bit darker down at the bottom, and goes out to sort of much lighter colour on the very edges, which is where there'll be more light showing through. And now I'm adding some branches and the trunk, just very, very thin strips of, in this case it's a mixed brown, and just separating out the strips of wool as I go along, and it makes the different branches and makes it look, well, much more realistic in my opinion. And don't forget that branches go in all different directions, you know, and of course the trunks of trees are not necessarily straight. A lot of trees do lean and bend, as do the branches, and some do overlap others. So we just do that, put the branches in, cut off the excess. When you're happy with that, you can then start to put some more green in on top of the branches. I like to start with putting a bit at the ends of the branches. Occasionally I will leave a little bit of branch sticking out, and as you can see I've got slightly darker colours down at the bottom again. But it does make the tree look much more realistic, because that's how trees grow. There's greenery behind and in front of the branches, so I just keep adding it. And a very good tip is, if you're not sure if it looks right, is to take some photographs. Take a photograph, look at the photograph, and it gives you a better idea of what the picture looks like, because when you're up close working at it, it doesn't really work. Now you can see here I'm mixing some different greens, a different blend, and what I do is I finger mix them together, and then I will cut them up into tiny pieces, as you can see here, into a little bowl. And in this case I'm using more lighter greens, a little bit of the dark colour in there, and once I've got them all cut into tiny little pieces, I just mix them again in my fingers, and you'll see as soon as I start putting this on that it is actually a different blend of greens to make this second tree look different. So again, I'm just laying down the foliage that would be at the back of the tree, behind the branches, and this tree I'm making it lean a little bit over the sea, just just like the way it's done. And you can notice there that I've got more I've got the lighter colours, but I've also got bits of yellow in there. So obviously the light is hitting this tree, and the light is coming from the right hand side. And again, the branches and the trunk, as I said, it's leaning, which I think does happen a lot at the seaside. Or it may actually be leaning the wrong way, I don't know, I haven't decided, because the wind would come in off the sea, but it's leaning anyway, and I think it makes it look more interesting. And each time I add another branch, I'm adding to the trunk. You can start off with a wider piece at the bottom to make the trunk, and then split it all out into lots of different bits, but I find this for a small tree is just as simple. I do actually have a video of making the trees. So, and now we're putting some greenery on the top of the branches. Again, the ends of the branches first, and if you put some of it on really quite lightly, you can just about see the branches poking through, but you want to put some gaps in between it so that you can see bits of the branch and possibly also bits of the sky. So there we go, and it seems to magically turn into a tree. So I love doing trees. Go, and that's our two trees at the back there, and now a bush. It helps to cover the bottom of the trunks of the tree, where it just sort of like disappears into the ground. You can spread out the bottom of the brown and make it look more like roots, but I do like to put something at the bottom to sort of cover it up. But also this gives you some more different colour greens in here. You want your picture to look attractive, you want lots of different colours. This was just another mix I made, and I'm putting some dark, very dark green right at the bottom, because the underneath of the bush would be a lot darker. So just like that. And this bush has obviously been trained to grow into a nice ball. I can only apologise about the video keep going out of focus. I have no idea why it's doing this. I've tried all sorts of things. If anybody's got any suggestions, please let me know. The camera is on a stable setting up above my workspace, so it doesn't get moved or shaken or anything, and a lot of the time it just works perfectly, and then all of a sudden it starts to refocus itself. It's not an expensive camera, it's a Sony, but I don't know, there's other videos where I haven't had the problem, and since I started doing the needle felting videos I do have the problem. Maybe it's because I'm moving so fast, but I don't know. So there we are, we've put some sort of colour into the bush there, some bits of flowers, and I will actually extend this later and add some lighter colours. Although they are different shades of orange, you can see the mix there at the top left. Different mixes of colours. I mix all my colours the same. Just take different shades. I usually like a lighter, dark and a medium at least. Sometimes I add others. And just mix them together with my fingers, and then using the scissors I cut them into very small pieces into a bowl. And they're there to use. And I keep the little plastic bowls stacked up so that when I do another picture I've probably got some bits already mixed up, which does help. And we're now going to start putting a bit of detail into the house. These brown lines I'm putting in at the moment is really just so that I can see the different parts of the house. A lot of it will get covered up later, but it is there, and I probably could have managed without doing it, but I did it, so there we go, you can see it. That is the main front part of the house there that is in the light. So and you'll see as I carry on felting that the shape of the porch roof will start to appear, because I keep felting round it, and it will sort of appear. And now I'm adding some light and shade to the roof itself. Always remember where your light comes from, and you need to think about what is in front or above the items to see whether or not it should be highlighted or shaded. Now in this case the edge, sharp edges also collect the light better than flat surfaces do, or more light they collect. So the edge of the roof there, you'll see that I've highlighted it quite strongly, and also along the top, because it is an edge, and they do collect the light more. But I'm just using different blends of the greys here, the lighter colours to put in the highlights, and then I will be putting in a few darker bits of colour. And here's where I extended the bush a little, and I've added some lighter coloured flowers on the edge, on the part that would catch the light. And this is where I start to show the shape of the porch a little bit better in the roof. And that piece there is going to basically be in a shadow from the porch, so we'll just put a bit of a shadow in there. And a highlight on that right hand side, the edge of the porch itself. A bit of a highlight in there. I do actually put a bit more shading in there alongside the porch in a bit. Lighter colours on the right hand side of the house. And again, the side wall of the porch will have quite a bright light because it is an edge. I always try to do my highlights and shadows in the same colour family as the item itself, and this is why I'm using these much lighter colours here. And obviously where the roof comes to an end, and you're seeing the edge of the roof, that will also catch the light, sorry. A little bit more highlight in there. Now I'm putting the shadows underneath the roof, and it may look as if I'm using black, but in fact I'm not. I find black is very stark and not really what I want, so what I'm using here is a colour called Midnight Blue. It's very, very dark, but it's not black, and it seems to blend in with almost everything. It's a colour that I like to use, particularly if I'm making black animal fur. I will use a lot of Midnight Blue, because when you put the Midnight Blue next to the black, you get that sort of blue sheen. I don't know if you've ever looked closely at a black dog, but when the light shines on the dog, you get this sort of bluish sheen. So that's why I use the Midnight Blue. And I realised there that I stopped that roof just a little bit early, so I've gone back now and I've done that. And remember, this is quite an old cottage as well, so the shape of the roof and such like is not going to be absolutely perfect. It's not like a modern building, so if you've got a little bit of a, dip in the roof, or something's not 100% straight, don't worry about it. It will look good in the end, because it's an old cottage. And that's where I put in just that extra little bit of shadow there, look, beside the porch. And the idea being that this will actually make the porch stand out a bit further forward, and a bit more under the rest of the roof here. You'll see I accidentally pulled it out. It does happen, but and then we'll put it in again. There we go. And you can see now that the shape of the porch, roof is actually coming on now. Sticking out a little bit better. And I decided to shade in that entire piece of wall there. Now we're coming down from the main roof, the main house, and so you can see now that the little bit on the right was actually sort of like an extension. And I'm bringing down the porch, bringing it forward a bit at the bottom, and it makes it stick out, which is, what a porch would do. And then we're just continuing to put in the shadows and the highlights on the roofs. And I think the house is beginning to come alive. There I found I had a little bit of a lump of black. I didn't like it, so I've adjusted it. And now we're putting some highlights into the main roof. Just where the light hits it. down the other side, doing the back part of that roof. A little bit of shadow underneath. If at any time you're not sure, you know, where you should be putting these lines to delineate the roofs and things, look at your original sketch, and that you can tell from that where you should be putting the lines, where the different parts of the roof go. And there we have it, the end of part 2. Remember the affiliate links below, and if you could, like, comment and subscribe, it helps me a lot. Thank you for watching, and take care.